So my name is Tania, as you have understood. I'm a chemist originally, so I studied theoretical chemistry, and I did some research at my university in Brussels. After that, I worked in the chemical industry, and then I moved to environmental technologies. I focus specifically on air pollution control from incineration plants, from domestic waste, and also wastewater treatment plants and sludge treatment. I was also active before I started at the Brussels Enterprise Agency. I was also active as a project manager for European research projects, not exactly in the environmental technologies, but in a related area, which is climate change and energy efficiency. And so today I am working at Brussels Enterprise Agency. I am a national contact point, so these are people who are assigned by the European Commission to help companies, and especially the small enterprises, to access European funding for research and innovation. So I hope the combination of my previous jobs in environmental technologies and my current job also will help, and I will present a few examples of what I have done in the past and how you can communicate the results of European projects in order to get more visibility, in order to get more insight, more scientific insight, and ultimately maybe start a business yourself. So my presentation will go in 3 parts, actually. The first part is why should we communicate about results, how, when, and also what are the minimal requirements, because if you step up in a European project, there are some things that you are obliged to do by the Commission. Second part will go about how to tell a story, what's interesting to tell, and how can you get your message across. I will go then briefly about some useful resources and sources of information that you can use in the future, because now we only have less than 1 hour to discuss the subject, so I'm sure you will want to learn more after that. And then there will be a little question and answer session. And this is an opportunity as well as a warning. If you want at the end, and instead of asking a question, you can also take 2 minutes to come here in my place and present the results of your project, or what is your project about, so you can have a feeling of how you can present your project in 2 minutes. It's not an obligation, but for people who want to try it, it's a very interesting exercise. So why do you want to communicate, and what's interesting for your organization in it? There are several levels for it. First of all, as a scientist, as a researcher, as someone who has found something new, you may be very proud, and you may be wanting just to show what you have done and to share the results with the community. That's the first step. The second part, if you take part in a European project, is to show what you have done with European money. You have been probably funded or partially funded by European Union money, and so you want to show also that you have done something useful with the money that was provided to you. You can show how the outcomes are relevant to the society, and that's a very important point, especially in the coming program, that they want to show not only that as a scientist you have achieved something, but also that you can do something for the society. That the result, and it's especially important, I think, in environmental technologies, that the results and the outcome will be useful for everybody in the society. You also get more visibility, so that's also interesting for your department or for your team, that you can show that you have achieved something important and that you get the recognition that you deserve in the society. And this in turn will help people to come back to you or to your team and to ask you to take part in new projects. So it's really a positive outcome that comes from the previous project that you had. These are all very nice things where you can be proud and happy with, but then there is also one mandatory, an obligation, something that you have to do if you take part in European funded projects. You have to provide some communication and some dissemination. The idea of European funded project is that the money that is given to you to do the project should be useful, and that the result that you have achieved thanks to the money are more than what you would have achieved otherwise. So that's very important. And that's also why they insist on having you communicating everything that you have done within the project. I'm coming back to the formal requirement. Maybe some of you are already participating in European programs and in European projects, and so you have several obligations that you have to fulfill contractually and legally. The first part is during the proposal stage. Then it's not really a contract, but it's very important if you want your project to be selected. You have to show in the proposal that you will do something with the result. So it's very important when you write a proposal, before you submit it, and this will be very important also in the new upcoming program starting from 2014, it's very important that you show, besides the real scientific and technological development that you intend to do, that you will also show what will you do and what will the team and the partners do with the results once they are achieved. So it's very important, and if you forget this part, most of the chances are that your project will not be selected. So even before you start the project, think about it, because that's quite important. During the contract, the project, and that is set up in the grant agreement, so this is really the official contract with the European Commission. You have also to fulfill some requirement about the communication. You have to write reports. The ones of you who are already coordinating projects know that, or who are partners in a project know that. You have to write report, and these reports should be, of course, scientific and technological, but they should also insert some general summary that can be understood by everybody. And this comes back to the idea that it should be useful for the society and for the community as a whole. So, and that's maybe the most difficult part for people who are really good researchers, is make sure also the story that you will tell is also understandable by non-specialists. Not only the fellow scientists that are working together with you, but also non-specialists. You have also, most of the time, you have a website where you have to put a link. You have to show that you engage with the public, so you might be willing, depending on the project, but you might be willing to hold conferences, to invite people, to go to schools, to explain what you have done or what you are currently doing. So just interact with the citizens. And of course, because you have received some money, you have to highlight the fact that you have received some European money. At the end of the project, you also have some obligations, which are quite similar. You should, first of all, disseminate. So the more you talk about the results of the project, the better. And you should also do the final reporting, and the final reporting should also include a summary which is for non-specialists, and where you can show what you have achieved, what it could be used to, and you should also indicate the publications that you have done in scientific papers, but also in non-specialist papers, in magazines, the events that you have taken part or that you intend to take part in. For doing this, there are a few simple rules. Actually, I have just taken 3 out of the many rules that you can imagine, because I think these are really the ones that are the most important to make your message very clear and to bring it to the public. Before you start giving the message, is think about who you will be talking to, what you want to discuss and what you want to tell the public and why you want to tell it. And also, if you involve some people who are more used to communication and who are more creative, tell them what you want to achieve. don't just rely on creative people who say, oh, I have a cool idea, I will do this and that, but think about why you want to do it, what you want to tell, and to whom you want to tell it. And I think if you follow this rule, it will be very helpful not to spend too much time on communication, but just to be able to get your message across. Pitching and telling a story. Yep. The most simple is really to try to find a plot. Try to find a story that will be interesting and exciting for people to listen to or to read, depending on the message. Focus on the major message, not the details, but really the major message. Make it understandable for everybody. So your grandmother or your sister or your brother, everybody, somebody who is not in the field should be able to understand it. And then if you need, you can add the details, you can add the figures, you can add the scientific content, you can add the details on the technology. So it should really be like a mother telling a nice story to her child. Here I have taken two examples, and that's why I think my background also might be useful. I have taken two examples from my own career, where I was involved in two research projects, and I will show you also that it was what I've just told looks very simple, but of course in reality it's always more complex. But you can always find ways to find your way around. So what was the context? The context was a little bit special. It was a bilateral cooperation program, so bilateral between Belgium and China. And it was a project about how to improve energy efficiency in buildings. So trying to save energy by making the management of the energy systems more efficient, like not heating too much, but heating sufficiently. In the summer, not cooling too much, but cooling sufficiently, and trying to gain some energy savings by having intelligent systems to do that. The context was also special in the fact that we had various types of building. There were some office buildings, there were some laboratories, so it was a bit complex in the setup of the project. And we had also, because it was Belgium and China, there were very different climatic conditions. Very different in the south of China, it's humid and hot in the summer. In Belgium, it's a temperate climate. There were other major differences. Some of the buildings that we selected in China were very basic. There was no energy management system, and actually the management system that they said they use were just the office workers who came in and out to switch on and switch off the lights and the heating and the cooling systems. While some of the buildings in Belgium were also quite simple, but others were really very sophisticated. So you see that there were some major challenges in the project itself, so not easy to solve all these differences and to find a global way of handling all these issues. But still, when we had to communicate one single story that would be very coherent and that would give a very clear message across. For this, we had different ways of doing it. So we had one major event, and this is something I wanted to tell also, is sometimes even if the condition do not seem right, you can have a little bit of luck, or if you open your eyes and you listen very carefully, you can find some good opportunities. Originally, we were thinking that it would be very difficult to communicate about the results of the projects, because it was a complex project, because also the results were not always as positive as we had expected, but we had a little bit of luck. So on the left side, you see this is just one of the many graphs that the scientists and the technicians had to draw and analyze from the technical point of view. But then on the other side, you see pictures of the major event where we were able to present the results, and it was actually Shanghai World Expo 2010 in the European pavilion, which was also the Belgian pavilion. And on that side, you see my boss, who was the CEO of that company at that time, who was doing a speech in front of the Ministry of Science and Technologies of China. So despite the fact that it was a complex project, that the results were not as good as we had expected, we were a little bit lucky with the timing, but we also could push ourselves to take part in a high-level event. So this is just one example. I'm not saying that you always have the chance to go to a World Expo and explain your project, but you have to be open for such opportunities, because it can happen, and then it's interesting. By the way, my boss from them was also someone who started at Leuven University and who did a spin-off company with 3 engineers and who became very successful. So it's coming in the same story as Professor Vasiliu told in the beginning. So how we did communicate, and that's also important, I think, is you should modulate a little bit your storyline. Depending on who you are talking to, you should adapt your message. Of course, you should not contradict yourself, and the essence of the project will always stay the same, but you should a little bit adapt your message. We had some project sponsors, which were the 2 ministries of science and technologies from Belgium and from China. And to them, for example, we highlighted the fact that it was a joint project. Of course, it was joint money from the 2 countries, so it was important to show that the Chinese side had brought some insights and some technologies and some of the buildings for the demonstration, and that the Belgian side had brought something different and complementary. So that was one of the parts that was very important for the project sponsors. Of course, for the scientists, it's not that important, and for the people who were in the technology, then we would more highlight the real scientific and technological content and help them to understand the technologies and to analyze the results. So it's really depending on whom you are talking to, it's important to highlight some specific items. For everybody, of course, what was important, and especially for the ministries, was to show that there would be a positive outcome for the society, mainly that there would be significant energy savings by using the systems. The project partner, of course, we went into many details, and this resulted also in a few scientific papers. So I'm sure as a researcher, you know that you can publish some scientific papers, and we did it in the 2 countries because it was a bilateral project. We had also interactions, because we were very lucky with that big event, to have the general public involved, and to them I just told the story and we just explained the general overviews, including also some examples of buildings that we had used for the research and that some of them knew, which makes it a little bit more attractive to people. So what's important in the communication, I think I've already highlighted a little bit. So you have to communicate anyways, but then you also get benefits from it. The first benefit in our case was high visibility and high exposure. That's very important. You need to get the reputation of your team and the reputation of your university or your research center or your company. You need to enhance it and to show that you are doing some interesting, innovative research. But you also had a second type of outcome, which was that you had acquired more scientific knowledge and also more technological knowledge. And this is, of course, very important for the researchers themselves. And the last one, which was also very important, and it brings a little bit more into the field of the business, we had a lot of interactions with people who might become our clients or our partners, like architects in this stage, like real estate companies. And so it's also an opportunity to interact with people with whom you can do business in the future. These are the 3 rules of thumbs that I indicated in the beginning, and it was clear in this case that we had identified the different type of people you wanted to talk. We had identified why we wanted to talk to these people and what story we wanted to tell. And there was no specifically cool idea. The only cool idea was that we were able to participate in a high-level conference, but this you cannot have each time. Whether the outcome was achieved, of course, it depends on you to tell me later at the end of the speech that I'm giving, and maybe if you do the exercise of coming to pitch yourself, we will see that it had achieved some of the outcome. The second example is really from a European-funded project. It's an innovation project that was part of the CIP program, so Competitiveness and Innovation Program. So this really goes about innovation. It's not really about research and development, but it's much more about the innovative part of project. The context was quite different. There were 7 partners, all European partners from 7 countries, and there were also many sponsors, commercial companies who wanted to show their technologies in the project. It was about the renovation of historical building. It was a protected building in Brussels, and protected in the legal sense that it has historical value and historical features that could not be changed. And the idea was to renovate the building without changing the historical features, but in terms of improving the energy efficiency and reducing the energy consumption of 50%, which is quite a lot, so 50. So half of the energy would be used after the renovation compared to before the renovation. It's quite difficult challenge because it's a historical building. You could not change many of the items, so you cannot just strip the building and rebuild with highly insulating material. So there were a lot of technological challenges, but there were also some non-technological challenges which are also interesting to take into account. For example, we had a lot of sponsors, companies who wanted to show how good their technologies were and who gave some, for example, some solar panels, or who gave to the project the biomass pellet heater. Of course, they wanted to advertise for their products and for their technologies, and this was one of the challenges, to make it a nice project but not become just an advertisement board. So it's a very different type of challenge, but also quite an interesting one. That's the name of the project, and that's one of the interesting features I also want to tell. European project, so it has a European website, and the project is actually finished already for 2 years, but the website is still online, and I think this is also a very nice way of keeping the results of the project alive. Is even if the project is finished, some people may still be interested in going, having a look, checking the report, checking the partners who had done what and everything. So I strongly advise, because most of the energy is put in making the website, but once it's made, it's nice to have it run for the future and to transfer the knowledge that was acquired there. Again, we had one storyline that even protected historical building can be renovated, and the renovation can mean a lot of energy saving. But again, we had different levels of communication, and I think this is interesting also for you if you're doing research and you have results, to modulate a little bit the way you are communicating depending on who you are talking to. For the experts, we had that website. On the website, you had the preliminary report, the interim report, and then the final report, which was a very thick document. If you're interested, you can still download it from the website for free. That's really the idea of communicating and disseminating the results. Almost 120 pages, so you can imagine it's very technical, it's very detailed, so it's really for professionals who want to do it themselves. We had also a nice feature which was email where you could ask an expert, so anyone who had a question could send an email to the expert and the team of experts would answer within a reasonable timing. We had 5 workshops at professional conferences, so talking to architects, talking to building owners, talking to the people on the field, really. The second level of people where we discussed with was the general public and also the public authorities, because public authorities own a lot of historical buildings, and so they also are interested in that kind of project, but they are not necessarily experts. They are not necessarily architects or engineers, and so it was a different way of communicating. So we had 2 other types of workshops there where we didn't go so much into the technical detail, but we explained the concept and why it works and how it could work with their buildings. And then we had a few events also for the general public, which also included the website and the final report. In the final report, you have a publishable summary, which normally is readable by anyone. So again, the same type of message, but I think by this time you have understood a little bit the meaning. I think I could go on with a few other examples, but I think you've got the major message. Every project is different, and I know that. And when we talk to people, they say, yes, but in my project, it's such, and so it cannot apply. I think in any case, there is always a way of doing good communication about your project. Even if a project is not so successful as you had hoped, even if it's complex, even if it's delayed, even if it's different from what you had expected in the beginning, there is always something interesting to tell others about what you have achieved. This part I will go quite fast because you will get the slides afterwards, so I think it's not as important to go into the detail of every single reference, but this slide goes about what you can learn from other projects. So there is a lot of information from the European Commission and also from the project themselves, where you can find good ideas and have an idea of what is done in other projects in Europe. The very first line, learn about communicating on EU research and innovation project. This is something I really recommend you to read. It's only 20 pages. It's downloadable for free, and it gives a very clear overview of what you should do absolutely when you do research at European level. And then you can have many, many other examples. You have videos, you have high potential projects which are selected by the European Commission and shown as a kind of a showcase. And you can get really good ideas of how people do it. And if you look a little bit, you will see that it's different every time. This is also what makes it interesting, is the fact that it's never 2 times exactly the same. The next slide is the other way around. How can you, if you have a project and you have achieved result, how can you make the results known to other? And this is, of course, going the other way around. If you are a project coordinator of one European project, then you have your project officer, and you can discuss with your project officer whether they can find ways of advertising for your project. Of course, it doesn't go with every project, but if you are convinced you have really excellent results that should be shown, it can be shown at a conference. If it's a prototype or a demonstration of some device, some environmental technology device, you can ask whether you can show it at one of the events that are organized by the Commission. It doesn't work each time, of course, otherwise there would be thousands of devices and shown at every conference. But if you know that you have excellent results, you can try and you can ask your project officer. You can always, in some of the websites, you can also submit news and events. So if you want to advertise for an event that you are organizing within the framework of your project, you can submit that and then it's published on the official websites of the Commission. The last point which I want to highlight, it's also very important. This is really mandatory for all European funded research and innovation project, is deposit your publication on the open air platform. So the European Commission is very keen in funding projects, but is also very keen that the projects that are funded become the property of everybody, that everybody can access the results. So if you do a peer-reviewed article and you have it published in a magazine, you should deposit this in the website from the Commission, which the website is there, openair.eu. It's mandatory for the moment, it's mandatory for Framework Programme 7 in several areas, including environment and climate change. So if you are already involved in such project, you're probably aware that you should do that. We expect that it will expand and that it will be done for all the areas, all the thematic areas in the future. And the reason why they do it, I think this is really nice. It's a very nice sentence from Isaac Newton, so it's not very new, but I think it's still valid today. If I have seen further, it is by standing on the shoulders of giants. The idea being that a researcher never finds out anything on his own or on her own, alone, as if he or she was the only on the planet, but that it rests on works from previous people who already passed away, but also on fellow researchers. And that's really the idea behind the open air platform, is that you should share the results with your peers. There is one slide, I will not go into detail, it's just additional information if you're really interested, or maybe if within the team of people who are working together on a project, there might be people who are really focusing on the communication and dissemination. These are useful references where they might have good ideas to pick up for the project you are communicating on. That was it for my part. Now, if you want to pitch, the idea being that if you have a project that you have done recently or that you are still doing, and you want to present it in just 2 minutes, just to show that you can be concise, accurate, and in 2 minutes give others the idea of, oh, this looks an interesting project, you're welcome to take the microphone. Thank you.
And for free. I'm sorry to say, but for such a clear mind and such a clear explanation, something is missing. I should like to ask Madame Tania van Loon, Tania for us and for you, our friend from Belgium. What is the real role of your organization, ABA, in supporting the activity of the companies from Belgium, because it's a strong battle for the money, for the projects and so on, but money by projects, money by private projects and so on. So I should like to explain to this to so nice colleagues, what is the company, the agency, it's not a company, it's a state agency, I suppose. What is really doing for the people from Belgium to help them to make business in a successful way? Please explain this.
Yes, I should have started with that. So we are called Brussels Enterprise Agency. So indeed, it's a public body, it's a public agency that is focusing on helping companies from Brussels. Belgium is a small country, but we have 3 regions which are quite autonomous. The Walloon region, the Flemish region, and the Brussels region. So Brussels is a city, but it's also a region. And so all these agencies are separated in the different region. So we are, yes?
Happily they love each other.
I'm a good example of it because my father is from the Flemish part and my mother is from the French-speaking part. So and I'm in Brussels. So, so the role of our agency is to help companies and especially SMEs, so the small and medium enterprises located in Brussels, in all their endeavors. Everything they want to start, everything they want to do, we are there to help them. It means it can be, we work at 2 levels. One is really general information, so we provide the maximum of information that we have to all these companies to give them ideas of what are the opportunities. And the other level is to provide them with specialized guidance. So we accompany them, we help them to set up whatever project they want to set up. It can be legal advice to start the company. It can be a workshop that we organize to explain them about bookkeeping rules in Brussels. And it can also be, and this is the part that I'm doing together with some of my colleagues, is helping small and medium enterprises to start a European research project. So my job is to convince SMEs to take part in project, that it's interesting, that it's valuable, that maybe it's a little bit complex and it's a little bit administrative, but we will help them to go through the administration, and it's very interesting to take part in research and innovation projects.
We should like to know what means help, please. What means help?
Help.
So we have to know.
It depends. All the services are free. That's very important. And the help, it depends really what they need. We have companies who know the research program, for example. They know it very well. They have taken part. It's maybe the 10 project that they are doing. But in this specific case, they say, oh, please help me to find a partner from a Central European country that has such and such technological profile, because we need some companies to take, of that type to take part in the project. And then we are using our network and to try to find these companies. We have other companies who say, oh, I have a great idea. My strategy is to become the top person in the small wind turbine for urban environment, but I've never taken part in a European research project. Please explain me how it works. I don't know where to find the documents. I don't understand the wording of the European Commission. Please translate into a normal language what the Commission is saying. Help me to read the contractual document. Help me to understand how I can work with intellectual property rights. Help me to negotiate with my partners in order to have a fair share of the project results. So it can be anything.
So, generally speaking, is full support, but not inside the project, inside the, let's say, the connections to the world, and you are, for example, are you generating the business models? Are you generating business models?
We have people like my boss, Nathanael, who are involved in coaching companies and also starters. So really people who start their own business to think about their business model and to develop their business model. But then if you want to know more, this is his specialty.
So for my colleague and our driver today, I should ask Madame van Loon if the way of quantify this aid is a clear one, or if you are engaged for different number of projects, size of projects. Or, how is your job appreciated, evaluated every day? Because you have a lot of projects, I suppose. Please explain to us, in a state agency like yours, how your job is quoted, please.
Each year we set up an action plan where we define what we will do the coming year. And together with that, we have some, we call it key performance indicators, which are targets that we want to reach. So, for example, this year, for my team as national contact point, we have targets like giving a number of workshops and information sessions to the companies about the new program, Horizon 2020, the program that we will talk later this morning about. We have also targets as of the number of companies that we help to set up projects and to submit proposals to the European Commission. So we have a lot of deliverables that we have to deliver. Of course, it can happen that we don't deliver everything, but then we have to explain. There might be some circumstances where it's not possible to achieve what we wanted to achieve. There has been delay. It can happen like anywhere, but and so at the end of the year we are evaluated based on that, and we say, okay, we have helped so many companies. For example, last year the team had helped 14 companies from Brussels to set up and to submit effectively a European proposal. And the amount of subsidies that was requested for that was about 17 million euro. So these are really hard figures, like, okay, we think we have done a good job because we have helped our small enterprises, mainly small enterprises, and also non-profit organization to request so many millions of euro of subsidies.
I should like to know, there is a direct connection between the successful rate of the companies and your salary? I'm sorry to say.
It's not a problem to ask. No, actually, there is no relationship, no direct relationship. But I think the company, well, it's a public body, but it's under the form of a non-profit organization that we are set up. We are evaluated also on the quality of our work. So in that sense, it does. But not directly. I'm evaluated by my boss here. So you can ask him afterwards. So yes, there is no direct relationship with the salary, but of course we have to be to work well.
I ask this because we have a big problem in Romania with the salary of the people working for the state. There is a strange situation. We have companies, so-called after the revolution, is an invention of the revolution, independent authorities, you understand? And the salary of a general manager of such a company is 20,000 euro a month. The prime minister has only 2,000 euro a month, you understand? It's a huge system to make money machine for the others, to spoil the state, to spoil the companies. So, now the Prime Minister said we have to understand what happens with these autonomous companies. Yes. Who is saying if they are doing or not what their task? And all the people is saying, let's see, the younger scientist needs money, support. We need meal every day to think about and to be successful. That's why I ask. Who are you checked from the point of view of, not of efficiency, let's say, for your real support, the support of the state for the others? Because it's very important to have good companies, Belgian companies, successful ones, because they're making income of the state, and from that, your money. There's a big problem of saying you did a good job or not. Mr. Tanias is saying to you, of course, you did your job. Maybe upper is a big problem because your state system is very complex. There are regions and regions so on. So when I was preparing my thesis in Belgium in '73, I lost about 3 weeks to find the checkpoint for my money, and finally I said, if you are not giving to me the money, I am leaving, I'm going home. And you don't believe, the rector of the University of Ghent received me immediately, said, Professor, what are you for here? I said, I have a thesis in the field of mechanical engineering and hydraulic machinery and so on. I intend to do this and this. There's a program, national program and so on. And finally said, oh, I'm very interested. And you don't believe. No state, no government. He called the secretary, said, give me the check. And write a check for this gentleman for the 6 months. In such a way, I had 6 months of money to make my thesis, to finish my thesis successfully. But if the rector has not the right to do this, I was lost. So, too much power of the state in this field is very dangerous. At the beginning of the year, the rector of Ghent, maybe you know, is calling all the head of departments, laboratories. They have laboratories. A department with a laboratory is a special one, I could say. And at the first day, after the concert of Vienna, all the people are looking at the concert of Vienna, the 1st January, they are saying, professors, I am preparing for you a set of checks, and for the next year you have this amount of money to solve your problems according your business plan. That's all. And the final results are complex, of course, because they are evaluated by the state. They are a state university. And the quality of the process of the research and the education is very complex. So it's difficult to say. The feedback is very delicate, but we need the feedback. Yeah. If no feedback, no stability, no efficiency. So this I ask, how you realize the stability and the successful activity? I hope you are doing this, and I'm sure, because I know a lot of Belgian companies, and they are very, very serious controlled by the system. And on the other hand, the management of the company is, in my opinion, is a real science. It's not a herd and a ear condition. It's common sense of the management, but applied to the company. From this point of view, many companies, you know, they have implemented SAP, for example, but it's not enough. They need a lot of time for this, and it's not saying if the company is successful or not. There are other meanings to say that your advice was good or not. As a former head of the Romanian Innovation Agency, a lot of years, I spent a lot of money. I awarded money for research. Finally, you know what I did? I pushed any project director to put a patent, at least to write a patent, to go there, to enter our National Office Board of Patents, of Intellectual Property. Nathaniel asked me about this yesterday, and such a way, at least they were obliged to say, I did something, I don't know if it's good or not, but I try. It was one successful action, and for the first time in Romania, 1 year they had about 200 patents proposals. Yeah. Before they had 18, 16, something like this. I couldn't say that they were successfully entirely, but some of them now are used in Europe. Is a measure of the efficiency, but is only one from a lot of measurements. So we have 2 minutes to 10 when Mr. Ackermann will explain to us the business model of the spin-off. You can go out to take a coffee. It's our coffee. You get some water, and at 10 o'clock precisely we are starting the conference of Mr. Ackermann, and I assure you that it will be very interesting because it's IT applied to business society. A small break, 10 minutes please. And we wish to thank to Madame Tania van Loon for this.